Hello, friends, and welcome to Sleep Tight Stories. Our story today is about a duck who wants to become a ballerina. Daphne was getting older and was allowed to choose which activity she wanted to do this time. She knew what she would choose. The day finally came to go and register, and when she arrived in the kitchen in her tutu, her mother and brother didn't think dance was the best choice for her. The duck who wanted to be a ballerina. Today was going to be the best day ever. It was the day that Daphne got to choose what extra activity she wanted to do. She was getting older, 6 3/4, and she could finally choose what she wanted. Until now, she had taken piano classes, painting, soccer, swimming, and a class where she got to make things. Her parents wanted her to try everything, but left out one thing. Daphne, don't waddle too much. We have to go to the community center soon to register for new after-school activities, her mother said from the kitchen. I know, Mom. I'm just finishing stuff, Daphne replied as she looked through her trunk. Daphne loved spending time in her room. It was her very own place where she could explore all of her interests. She hung all her paintings on her walls, canvases splashed with wild colors and abstract scenes. One corner of the room was dedicated to her love of reading. A small wooden bookshelf she painted white with delicate flowers held all kinds of books. There were fairy tales, adventure, science, and history books. Here, Daphne would curl up on her comfy beanbag and get lost in the pages of her latest book, often traveling to distant lands and times. Beside the window stood her painting easel. Tubes of paint, jars of brushes, and palettes dotted with a rainbow of dried paint surrounded the easel. The window offered a view of the garden she and her mother planted, which often inspired her art. But the most magical part of her room was the large, old trunk that sat at the foot of her bed. She was rummaging through it right now, trying to find something in particular to wear before she left. Inside the trunk was a world of costumes. Dresses, capes, and hats with ribbons and feathers. Her grandmother had filled it with these costumes, believing that they would be a way for Daphne to explore new worlds, imagine and discover interests she never knew she had. Her grandmother was the best. Often when she came over for a visit, they would dress in costumes and act out a play. Daphne's bedroom was where her imagination came to life, where she could be a painter, a reader, a dreamer, and with the help of her grandmother's trunk, anything she wished to be. Today, like most days recently, she wanted to be a ballet dancer. Her heart was set from the moment Daphne first saw a ballet performance on TV. She was mesmerized by the graceful dancers twirling and leaping across the stage, their tutus fluttering like delicate wings. Since then, she had been wearing her tutu and trying to twirl around gracefully in her room. After putting on her dress, Daphne walked into the kitchen and announced, as she twirled in a pirouette, "I'm ready to go, Mom." "Oh dear, you are wearing your pink tutu. I thought you had outgrown that," her mother sighed. "You look strange," her stinky brother said with a laugh. "Don't you know that ducks can't do ballet? You have webbed feet. Why don't you do something else?" her brother said. He spent most of his time swimming, dabbling in the waters, and waddling along the banks. Ducks don't usually try to do ballet, dear. That's why we have never signed you up for dance, her mother said with a look of concern. Well, I'm not just every other duck. I am me, and I would love to try, Daphne said as she did another pirouette. Yes, you are, her mother replied as she gave her a kiss on the forehead. When they arrived at the community center, there were long lineups for art, visual math, and sports of all kind. Medium lineups for music and building stuff. There was no lineup for ballet. In the town of Featherby, where she lived, a duck dreaming of ballet was a bit unusual. Ignoring her mother's sighs and her brother's teasing, Daphne walked up to the old swan who was the instructor for the class. Hello, young duck. My name is Madame Odette. Are you lost? No, I am not lost. I would like to sign up for ballet, please, Daphne said proudly. Well, I am happy to hear that. Just sign your name here, Madame Odette said as she pointed to a sign-up sheet. And show up for our first rehearsal in the studio this Monday after school. That day at school, Daphne was so excited she could hardly sit in her seat. She just wanted to dance around the classroom all day, not sit and talk about science. She liked science a lot, but ballet was her passion now. When the school bell finally rang, signaling the end of school and the start of after-school activities, Daphne practically ran towards the dance studio, which caused more than one teacher to tell her to slow down before she ran into someone. The studio, a wide open space with mirrors lining the walls, was already busy with other young ballet students warming up. There were cranes, herons, and albatrosses, but Daphne was the only duck. There wasn't even a Canada goose. Daphne's entrance drew curious glances. Her webbed feet were an unusual sight in a ballet class. With butterflies in her tummy, she took her place at the bar. Madame Odette, with her elegant posture and warm smile, welcomed Daphne. Ah, our new budding ballerina. Welcome, Daphne, she said, her voice as soft as silk. Daphne felt excited to begin. The class began with simple stretches and warm-up exercises. Despite her enthusiasm, Daphne struggled to keep up with the other students, who seemed to move with effortless grace. She realized that ballet required not just passion, but also discipline and precision. Madame Odette moved through the class, offering gentle corrections and encouragement. When she reached Daphne, she offered a kind smile. Ballet is like a beautiful story told by your body, she said. It takes time to learn the language. These words comforted Daphne, reminding her of her love for stories. As the lesson progressed, Daphne began to find her rhythm. Her initial awkwardness gave way to a growing sense of control and expression. She started to understand the flow of movements and the language of ballet that Madame Odette spoke of. After class, Madame Odette approached Daphne. I love your enthusiasm. Today we focused mostly on exercises and basic movements. I just know when we start more challenging movements, you will do just fine, she said, encouraging Daphne to keep practicing. Despite her brother teasing her whenever she practiced in her room and her parents' concern, Daphne loved ballet more than ever. The next class, Daphne lined up with the rest of the class at the bar. As the class began, Daphne tried to mirror the elegant positions demonstrated by the most experienced dancer, a crane named Eloise. The movements, though simple, proved challenging. Her webbed feet, perfect for paddling in the pond, didn't point and flex like the other dancers. She found herself wobbling, her balance thrown off by her unique feet. Madame Odette noticed Daphne's struggles. She approached Daphne, her movements as graceful as the swans she was named after. "Dance is about expressing yourself, Daphne," she said kindly, "and sometimes we must adapt the dance to suit our abilities." Encouraged, Daphne continued. But as the class progressed into more complex routines, she felt her spirits sink. Pirouettes with pointed toes seemed impossible. She watched her classmates glide and leap, their feet executing perfect ballet form, a form her own feet couldn't mimic. She then slowly realized that certain ballet movements might be beyond her reach. She remembered her mother's hesitation when she wanted to join ballet and her brother's teasing. Maybe he was right. After class, Daphne lingered. She was feeling sad and disappointed. Madame Odette joined her, her eyes soft with empathy. "Daphne, in ballet, as in life, we must embrace our strengths and work with our differences," she advised. "You have a unique grace and a joy for dance that shines through. We can find a way to bring that out in a way that suits you." Walking home, Daphne was lost in thought. Her dream of becoming a ballerina, just like the ones she saw on TV, seemed to be slipping away. She loved to dance like she loved to paint, read, and dress up with Grandma, but maybe she was too different. Maybe ducks just can't do ballet. That evening after dinner, she shared her experiences with her mother. "Mom, I guess I was just being silly. Ducks can't dance," she said with a disappointed voice. "Daphne, I am so proud of you for following your interest and trying hard in ballet class. I have noticed all the practicing you have been doing in your room, even before you started class. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about expressing yourself and doing what you love to do. I'm sure other dancers have their own unique style and strengths, and so do you. But it's harder for me, Mom," Daphne said, still unconvinced she should continue. "I know it's not easy, especially when things don't go as planned, but that's all part of learning and growing. Think of all the great dancers out there. They all started somewhere and faced challenges, but they kept practicing, just like I know you will. You love to express yourself, Daphne, and I am sure you will be great with more practice. I'll be here for you every step of the way." Daphne waddled into dance class determined to try her best. She took her place at the bar, standing tall and proud, ready to dance in her own unique way. Madame Odette greeted her with a warm, encouraging smile. "Welcome back, Daphne. I have been thinking about some special dance moves just for you," she said kindly. That day's class was different. Madame Odette introduced new steps that played to Daphne's strengths. Movements that required less pointing of the toes and more swaying and flowing motions, much like the ripples of a pond. Daphne found herself moving more freely, her webbed feet gliding across the floor with ease. Madame Odette encouraged her, and as the class progressed, Daphne's confidence grew. She realized ballet was about expression and emotion, and she had plenty of both. With each turn and sway, she let her love for dance shine through, and her classmates watched in admiration. At the end of class, Daphne felt really good about herself. She realized that being different was okay, and that she could still enjoy ballet in her own way. Being different was her strength. She thanked Madame Odette for helping her find moves that worked for her. Walking home, Daphne was happy and excited about ballet. She knew it might still be hard sometimes, but she was ready to keep trying and having fun. And that's the end of our story. Good night. Sleep tight.